Good day to one and all. Today I shall discuss with you the integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo, which is an important topic that is included in the course taught at the UG level called as Modern Indian Thought of the University of Kerala. Basically, let us begin with what is integral yoga. Integral yoga, also known by the names Purna Yoga or supramental yoga, is a unique philosophy and practice of yoga envisioned by Sri Aurobindo and the mother. The mother was otherwise known as Mira Alfasa. Yoga is a union with the divine. It is a joining of the limited human consciousness with the infinite divine consciousness. The word yoga for Sri Aurobindo has a wider significance. To him, yoga is a complete union in the soul as well as nature by a molding of the entire being into an image of the divine. Not a partial union in the inner existence alone, but an integral union in all the elements of our being is the aim of yoga. This calls for a change of the inner and outer life so that it may become a channel of joy of the divine and a fit instrument of his works. Our life is a series of struggles to outgrow its ordinary limitations or rising to a higher status of existence. The true progress of life consists in an evolution from darkness to light, from sorrow to bliss, from weakness by limitation to the perfection of the infinite. The whole of life, according to Sri Aurobindo, is yoga, a series of mental, vital or psychic movements towards full development of all our latent divine possibilities. Both human beings and nature are evolving towards the same ultimate goal of perfect expression of the divine in every sphere or plane of existence. But human beings need not follow the tardy method of cosmic evolution. They can hasten the slow natural process of his individual evolution by applying it to his own intelligence, will and endeavor. Nature is leading man in a double evolution, one relating to his outward life and nature, and the other to his occult inner being and nature. The integral or Purna Yoga of Sri Aurobindo is therefore identical with nature's yoga, because the ultimate aim of both is a divine perfection of the human being. The objective is not merely an outward or mundane perfection of the normal human mind, life and body. The aim is the full development of all members of the being, both inner and outer, for the greatest fulfillment of embodied existence. The demands of the spirit must not be ignored, nor of material nature, for a balanced growth of our personality. A perfect yoga requires a perfect balance, a harmonious growth of all the parts. Human fulfillment lies in uniting with God, who is the only true being, and participating in his perfect purity, peace, light, force and bliss. The whole meaning of integral yoga is in fact a growth into the happy perfection of likeness of the divine, which means a rendering of the human into divine nature. Now let us address the question, why integral yoga? The primary need of man is a harmony among the discordant elements of his personality. A ceaseless fight is going on among them, each pressing for its own delight and fulfillment in disregard of the total welfare of the whole being. For instance, the vital part runs after many low and self-seeking pleasures, which the mind does not accept as the true enjoyment of life. Human beings thirst for many objects and satisfactions which conflict with one another. The jarring elements must be harmonized by union with our inner self, who is the divine individual within us. That alone can bring peace, joy and harmony into our being. The root cause of all the evils of life is the separation of the finite being from its infinite source, which possesses all bliss and power and knowledge. The remedy lies in the reunion of the individual with the divine, the origin of his being, the master of his life and the beloved of his heart. Yoga is the path that leads to such union and spiritual fulfillment of life. The divine confers on us the rich treasures of his spirit as recompense for all our toil and trouble. Now let us take a look at the three movements in integral yoga. To attain the said objective, three yogic movements are necessary. First is to live in the tranquil inner self instead of the restless outer nature for an opening to the divine. Secondly, one has to develop the cosmic consciousness by which the yogi becomes conscious of his union with the universal self and nature. Thirdly, the aim is to come into contact with the divine beyond the cosmos through the consciousness of the supermind, which is the ideal or divine mind in full possession of the truth. This implies that the entire being will turn towards the divine, live and act for him and become full of the divine consciousness. Now let us take a look at the descent of higher consciousness in integral yoga. The descent of higher consciousness from upper spiritual planes is a remarkable element in integral yoga. For complete transformation, the whole higher consciousness with its peace, power, light and knowledge and ananda must descend into the entire being, that is the mind, life and body, for its transformation. The human being must receive into himself the power and presence of spirit and by the direct action of that power become a fit instrument of its self-expression. The whole being must be tuned with the divine and turned into a channel for the outpouring of divine love and power in the world. Now, let us take a look at the foundations of integral yoga. We are aware that every strong edifice requires a strong and stable foundation to support it. Integral yoga has 6 powerful foundations. The perfection in integral yoga is impossible without attaining perfection in these 6 foundations. The 6 foundations of integral yoga are: first is faith, second is quiet and calm, third is wideness, fourth is silence, fifth is sincerity and sixth is surrender. Now let us take a detailed look at each one of them. The first is faith. A faith supported by the mind, heart and life mind is an irresistible force for realization. It will ensure protection against all dangers, difficulties and apparent failures. And we are aware that without a faith in any ideal, it is basically impossible for a human being to achieve any goal in life. So therefore, faith is an indispensable first element in the foundations of integral yoga. The second is quiet and calm. Calmness and quietude are essential for sadhana. A mind that is tossed about by restless and unruly thoughts, by vital desires and passions, and by impulses of the body is unfit for yogic practices. We have quietude, which Sri Aurobindo calls as achanchalata, when the mind and vital are free from constant restlessness, overactivity or trouble that keeps them in a state of ceaseless agitation. The next step is calm, sthirata, which is a positive condition. It is a state that remains unaffected by any movements on the surface. A more positive condition, the third one, is shanti, which carries with it a sense of settled and harmonious rest, a feeling of liberation and full satisfaction. This is a calm deepened into a secure quietude where no disturbance can come. The third foundation of integral yoga is wideness. Consciousness must become not only calm but also wide. It should be felt as spreading out and enveloping everything so that one may dwell in it. Wideness is a sign of the extension of consciousness out of its ordinary limits. The ordinary consciousness in each person is narrow and shut up in the mind, life and body. The limiting ego sense, which is the root cause of all evil, will disappear on entering into cosmic vastness. A wideness of being is the secure foundation of the permanence of all higher spiritual experiences. Moving on now to the fourth foundation of integral yoga, it is silence. Silence, which Sri Aurobindo calls as Nischala Niravata, is a higher state of consciousness than calm or quietude and belongs to a higher state of yoga. Silence is a state in which either there is no movement of the mind or vital, or else a great stillness which has no surface movement and can never pierce or alter. The mind is altogether free from thoughts, desires or impulses, or these are felt as surface movements that cannot touch the inner peace or calm. Complete silence can be gained by banishing thought altogether from the inner mind, keeping it vacant and voiceless. The fifth foundation of integral yoga is sincerity. Sincerity is also an indispensable condition of success in sadhana. To be sincere means to have the sole aspiration of finding the divine, giving up all personal demand or desire. And finally, to the sixth foundation of integral yoga, it is surrender. Surrender is the chief secret and the central process of yoga. The integral yoga seeks to realize the divine truth not beyond but here in this earthly life. For this purpose, it is necessary to transform the mind, life and body. But transformation is not possible unless one opens and surrenders to the divine being and to the divine mother, the supreme Shakti. Now let us move on to the final leg, the actual accomplishment of integral yoga, which is called as the triple transformation. The most important feature of integral yoga is the triple transformation. This refers to the process through which reality is transformed into the divine. This is described in the Life Divine, Part 2, Chapter 25 and Letters on Yoga, Part 4, Section 1. The triple transformation refers to the twofold movement of spiritual transformation, the inward psychicalization by which the sadhak gets in contact with the inner divine principle or psychic being, and the spiritual transformation or spiritualization. For Sri Aurobindo, both these stages are equally necessary and important, as both serve as necessary prerequisites for the third and by far the most difficult element of change in the triple transformation, which is the supramentalization of the entire being. Now let us first take a look at the first step, which is called as psychicalization. Psychicalization is one of the most essential stages of integral yoga. As described in the Life Divine, Book 2, Chapter 25, it refers to a spiritual movement inward so that one realizes the psychic being, the psychic personality or the divine soul in the core of one's being, and enable this to transform the outer being as well as serve as a spiritual guide in yoga. The three central spiritual methods here of psychicalization are consecration, moving to the depths, which is called as concentration, and surrender. Consecration is to open to the force before engaging in any activity. Moving to the depths, which is otherwise called as concentration, is a movement away from the surface existence to a deeper existence within. Surrender means offering all of one's work, one's life to the divine force and intent. The second step of the triple transformation is called spiritualization. As a result of the psychic transformation, light, peace and power is drawn into and descends into the body, transforming all of its parts, physical, vital and mental. This is the spiritual transformation or spiritualization, which refers to the bringing down of the larger spiritual consciousness or spiritual transformation. The third and the final leg of the triple transformation is entitled supramentalization. Supramentalization is the ultimate stage of integral yoga. It refers to the bringing down of the supramental consciousness and the resulting transformation of the entire being. The supramental transformation is the final stage in integral yoga, enabling the birth of a new individual fully formed by the supramental power. Such individuals would be the forerunners of a new truth consciousness based supra-humanity. All aspects of division and ignorance of consciousness at the vital and mental levels would be overcome, replaced with a unity of consciousness at every plane, and even the physical body will be transformed and divinized. A new supramental species would then emerge, living a supramental, Gnostic, divine life on earth. Or Aurobindo used to say that the entire human race will be transformed into a race of Gnostic beings. To conclude, while most disciplines of yoga, with a few exceptions, focus greatly on the development of a single aspect of the self, having their aims like achieving a state of liberation and transcendence, or the achievement of optimum physical fitness, integral yoga seeks a complete transformation of the entire being and is therefore regarded as being a wholesome discipline by the practitioners. The main aim of integral yoga is to achieve union and harmony with the karma, jnana and bhakti, which would basically imply a combination of the physical self, vital self, mental, psychic and spiritual arenas. Integral yoga is a lot more complex than most other forms of yoga. It involves every fiber of our being and pervades every area of our life. Thank you.